We are back.
All right, so now what do we have here?
So now we have a different computer that has no Bitcoin on it.
None.
And what we are going to do here is we are going to show you what exactly is going on with all this blockchain stuff. And we're going to, this is the exact same program that was on the other one, but we're going to start from scratch. And we're going to show you how easy it is, how you don't have to have any special tech knowledge or any of that stuff.
To get to my Bitcoin node.
Exactly, to get to your Bitcoin node. So
Okay.
we're right here on bitcoin.org.
Bitcoin.org. I'm going to do this assuming somebody's going to type it in there.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we're going to download what's called Bitcoin Core.
Okay.
And Bitcoin Core is the name of the program that's going to give you this Bitcoin node.
Okay. And is this made by Bitcoin?
This is made by the Bitcoin developers.
Got it.
So
Okay.
the important thing with Bitcoin developers is that this is an all volunteer community. So all over the world, anyone who knows how to program can help maintain Bitcoin Core and help
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah. There's no actual there's no company behind Bitcoin.
There's no CEO or...
There's no CEO of Bitcoin. It's all just volunteers from around the world. That's part of what.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So right on this computer, we are running something called Linux. It's a free Windows alternative. It's a little bit kind of technical. You don't have to fool around with Linux if you don't want to. They have a Windows one right here. It's very, very easy. You just download it.
Mac one?
Yeah, the Mac one.
And
this is for those Raspberry Pi things. You know, if you've heard of those, it's like a little tiny computer. You don't have to mess with any of that stuff. We're just going to go to Linux right here.
All right, here we go.
And we're downloading right up here. So I'm just going to take you all the way from the start and all the way to the end. It's going to be very, very simple. We do have to wait for this download.
All right, so while that's happening, I'm going to let you guys know that we went to bitcoin.org. This should pop up here. You hit the download thing here.
And
Then
it's going to give you
select
these.
which one you got, Windows, Mac OS, Linux, or Strawberry. I don't know what he was talking about with that, but it sounded like an...
So you don't need any kind of special stuff in order to do
Don't
this.
break it, Stevie.
Look at that. It has a
See,
CD.
it's got the CD and everything. Yeah, this is not some special $1,000 server. You got to have some, special gaming computer. It's
You
none
can
of that.
get this at like a regular...
Yeah, you can walk into Best Buy and get this. You can walk into a thrift store.
Something like this much.
So new, you're probably looking at like maybe $400 or $500 for this.
Okay.
If you're looking at like used, you can probably get this for $100 or $200.
Okay. So there's no excuses, is what he's saying.
Exactly.
Right?
There's no excuses.
Right.
If you were really real used, like you're going to the pawn shop or whatever, $50, $100 max for
50.
something like this.
You could shine enough shoes and make that money and pay for this thing.
For real? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one quick proviso, because I can kind of hear some of the questions. This is not a miner. This is a node. So you're not going to make any money doing this, but it's not really going to cost you anything either. So this is more like a volunteer thing.
Yeah.
The miners with this ASICs,
Yeah.
this is where the millions of dollars are. This is where the thousands. This is where the whole. You have seen those pictures where there's a warehouse full of computers.
Yeah.
That is the miners. That's where they make all the money.
That's where they make the money.
And
we'll have another episode talking about that, hopefully, about
Yes.
that breakdown, because I don't know anything about that at all.
Yeah.
You?
1%.
You know 1% of what that's about,
They
right?
mine, that's what I know. That's pretty much what I know.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
1% of the 1%. Yeah.
Yeah.
1%, right.
So all we're going to do is show in folder, and it's going to pop this up. There's other alt, we're not going to worry about that one. So all we have to do is right click and do extract here. You know how you go on a computer and it says, you have a zip file, you need to extract a zip file or whatever. It's not that technical. All you're doing is taking it out of the box, essentially. Out of the box, it comes in over the internet. So now, you don't have to do this if it's on Windows. On Windows, you can just
Click right up.
You can just click on it and be done. Because we're on Linux, I'm going to have to do a little tiny technical thing. And if you're old enough to remember DOS, this is going to look real similar.
Yes.
So we're going to go over to our Linux terminal, which is going to look a lot like DOS.
Looks just like DOS.
And it's not DOS, to be specific. I can hear people in the comments say,
Yeah.
Linux is not DOS. It's a command line.
It's a command line.
Yes, and a command line is what DOS and Linux terminal are both command lines. It's like saying a Ford and a Chevy, whatever, are both cars, but they're like
Very different.
yeah, like
to those who
Exactly.
Some people really are
Yeah. So,
Chevy Ford, they're ready to fight.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. It is the exact same thing here.
Okay.
If you're coming on the outside, they're the exact same thing.
Right.
If you're on the inside, it's a whole different.
There's a whole other thing, and
So,
yeah. Okay.
we are going to do our little deal. This is, again, if you were going to do this on Windows, you don't have to fool with any of this stuff. This is just because we are on Linux.
Would you have to fool with this if I'm on Apple?
No.
Okay. So
Apple
either
is
way,
going to be a lot
So
easier.
this is a Linux exclusive extra
Yeah.
step that we have to do,
Exactly.
and he's writing code into it right now.
It's not exact, it's
Writing
Pretty close.
the command.
writing the command,
Writing
exactly.
the command.
And here we go. We are going to start it up. So you can just hit OK on this one, use default, whatever, blah, blah. Here we go. So if you're zoomed in here, you'll be able to see on the screen it says syncing headers down here. What this means is it's just checking the real quick part of the blockchain. You know how if you have a file cabinet and you open the file and you're just looking through the,
Right.
the labels, that's what it's doing.
That's what it's doing.
It's looking through the very, very top level of the blockchain
Right.
when it says syncing headers here.
All right.
Top level stuff, you're just going to look through real quick to make sure everything's there. That's it. What we really wanted to look at is this bar over here, where it says 12 years and 19 weeks behind. And up here, it says last block time, Saturday, January 3rd, 10:15 and 5 seconds, 2009. So what is going on here is it is going back to the very, very beginning of Bitcoin history. When Bitcoin was launched, it was this time and this day, Saturday, January 3rd, 2009.
Wow.
This was right after the financial crash. You remember 2008? Remember
Wow.
when everything totally collapsed? And
These guys came in and was like, bling.
yeah, you guys, hey, we're not going to have any of this again. And then they tried to blame it on subprime mortgages like they think we're stupid. Are you kidding?
Yes. I have a lot to say about the subprime mortgages. Don't get me going.
Are you
guys
kidding?
know, I already had
That's
one.
another episode, that's
That's
another
another
episode.
episode. So, because they tried to blame their own screw up on subprime mortgages, we had Bitcoin. You want to know why we had Bitcoin? It's this.
Yes.
Because these circus clowns crashed the whole system, made a lot of people lose their homes, a lot of people lose their livelihood, a lot of people lose their job, a lot of people lose their marriage, a lot of people lose this, a lot of people lose their that, and this is, oh, who, me?
Yeah.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Who were the subprime mortgages, man? Don't play me.
That's crazy.
And then, oh, and by the way, we want our bailout too.
Yes. And they got it.
And they got it. And some people didn't like that.
No.
And some people actually had the
Gumption.
gumption,
Yeah.
exactly. That's the word.
Mhm.
Some people had the gumption to do something about it, and they did this. And they said, you know what? You screwed up our money, you screwed up our economy, you screwed up our everything.
Screwed my marriage.
You screwed up my marriage. You screwed up me. Well, guess what? We're going to screw with you. And we are going to get you out of there. And we're going to use Bitcoin to do it. So you better listen up. Because this is it for you. All right? You are out. Right now. See that $60,000 Bitcoin? It ain't going to stop. It's going to go to 80. It's going to go to 90. It's going to go to 100. It's going to go over your head. And you are going to be out. So get out now while you still can. Anyway, back to Bitcoin. That's where this came from.
And I thought I was an actor.
Acting. I wasn't acting.
I don't think he was. I was about to get up now. I didn't even do anything.
No, I'm not talking to you.
I know.
You didn't do nothing.
Yeah, but the command was
Yeah, you didn't do anything. So yeah, you're good. So that is where Bitcoin came from, and that is what Bitcoin is.
Yes.
That's where Bitcoin originated.
Oh.
Was all that 2008 crash, and knowing that the people who were behind it not only didn't take any culpability for it,
No.
but got away with it.
They got away.
And they got a golden parachute, and everyone else got wiped out.
Yes.
And they said, oh, well, we didn't do anything, with their big pile of money behind them that they got out of the crash. So,
But how do you really feel?
you want to know? Anyway, so we're going to go all the way back to 2009. And the reason we have to go all the way back to 2009 is that that's where the first transaction happened, and the blockchain has to know about every single transaction.
This is crazy. Every single buy and sell.
Every single
Every
buy
single
and
one.
sell.
We can
every
go
single
back.
We can go back.
Oh my
So
goodness.
transactions all the way back to 2009 are not only on here, they're public. And each node has to know about them. That's why it's 300 gigs. That's why it's so big.
Yeah,
Because it has to have this
we haven't
whole
even got to
entire
1% yet.
We have,
It's gonna be a long episode.
Yeah, right now, we're still on syncing headers. We haven't even started,
No.
because we're still just looking through the top level of the file cabinet. But it's almost done, see, it's almost up to 80.
Okay, so let me just say this. Wouldn't it be really cool if we had an accurate account of history? Like, that's one of the things that's happening right now is a historical perspective is usually by those who are in control. So
Yes.
what we learn is the way they want us to learn it. But
Exactly.
imagine the beauty of something like this, which is like, we can go back in from the very first origination of the Bitcoin. We can go in there and say, no, this is what happened. So-and-so sold it to there, that sold to this went up here, blah, 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 and there's no refuting it. There's nothing. It's solid gold,
Exactly.
honest transactions.
Exactly.
Not a politician saying, well, let me go check my records.
Yeah.
It's not an attorney saying, well, Stormy Daniels did this or whatever. And that's just an ache in my mind. I'm not saying one thing or another about anything. I'm just saying that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
There's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
There's no smoke and mirrors.
There's no
here.
smoke and mirrors here.
This
That's
is-
what I'm really trying to say.
Exactly. This is why they call Bitcoin digital gold.
Digital gold.
Just like you said, this is the gold standard.
I didn't know that. That's good.
There we go. So now see, it's done the synchronizing with headers. It's done the kind of top level in the file cabinet. Now we're looking through each piece of paper on the file cabinet real fast.
Wow.
It says synchronizing with network. So you said 12 years and it said a few weeks behind. Now 1 week. Now 0 weeks. Now it's 11 years, 51 weeks. It's getting all those transactions. It's reaching out to the rest of the network and saying, hey, I'm behind. By this amount of time, catch me up. Tell me what happened between where I'm at, which is Monday, July. It's going so fast now I can't even see it. But between 2009 and now, tell me what happened. And that's what blockchain is. You got to go all the way back to the beginning, and you have every single transaction. And that's why it's accurate. And this is all mathematically locked by these miners and by the hashing. And that's why no one can screw around with this.
And not only that, but everyone that's doing this, is maintaining this environment, is volunteering.
Exactly.
So that says a lot in and of itself. There is no private incentive for someone to be like, yeah, I'll help you guys out, right?
Exactly.
Which,
Exactly. Everyone who's doing this is a volunteer. The miners are not volunteering. They're getting paid.
yeah.
And we can go over that part.
That's
later.
another.
That's another
That's a whole other episode.
But
But anything off of this is a volunteer. You don't get anything out of this. It doesn't cost anything because it doesn't cost any extra electricity. You just run it's like running line wire in your computer. Same thing. Same exact thing.
So while we're syncing it, maybe we can talk about those two questions. How much power do they have, really? And how do I know, as an ordinary folk using cryptocurrency, using Bitcoin, how do I know who these people are? For me to trust them with all the transactions that has ever happened since 2009.
Okay.
So part of the issue here is that Bitcoin does not require any trust. And the reason it doesn't require any trust is that the miners are the ones keeping the blockchain as the real one. So you are trusting the volunteers, but in some sense you're also trusting the miners, because the miners are the ones who not so much decide, but they're the ones who keep the real chain safe from all these fake chains.
Okay.
So what you're really trusting is the miner's incentive to mine on the real chain.
Okay, so now I'm going to jump in on this one here, because it just seems to be human nature that even if something is really, really good and pure, there seems to be something always kind of corrupt or whatever. That's the kind of thing that I'm thinking right now, which is, it sounds great, but how do I really know that somebody's not in there trying to undo a code or trying to put something in their own pocket? I mean, humans are humans.
Or all of them coming to, all the nodes.
Or all
coming
of the
together.
nodes come together, which would be really kind of crazy.
So this is what so technically, this is what happened on Ethereum. And we went over this briefly in another video, but I'll go over it real quick now. On Ethereum, there was a big robbery where there was one of these smart contracts, and the smart contract had a loophole.
Yeah.
And the loophole was real in there, but imagine that you found a loophole in your bank's contract that said everyone else's money belongs to you. And let's just say it was a typo in the contract, and it's literally said, with the typo, everyone else's money goes to you. So you go in the bank and you say, hey, I want everyone else's money.
Yeah.
Then the bank's going to say, that's a typo, get out of here.
Yeah.
They're not going to do anything with that.
Right.
But the computer doesn't know any better. So on Ethereum, what happened is someone found a typo that says everyone else's money belongs to me. And the computer didn't know any better. So it gave everybody else's money. And everyone was, just like you said, everyone was up in arms. The miners were up in arms, the volunteers were up in arms because it was this big robbery. Everyone lost a lot of money.
And of course, the people who lost money were up in arms.
Everyone was up in arms. So what Ethereum did is they did exactly what you're talking about. All the miners got together and all the nodes got together and they rewrote history to make it so the robbery never happened, because this is the important part about blockchain. If it's not on the blockchain, it never happened. Never happened. So they rewrote, they did exactly what you're talking about. All the nodes got together and said, we want to rewrite history. All the miners got together and said, we want to rewrite history. And all the users got together and said, we want to rewrite history because we want our money back. And they all rewrote history. And the robbery never happened.
But it did.
But it did. And that's why you have Ethereum Classic, because there was a minority in Ethereum that said, hey, we don't want to go along with that. We don't want to rewrite history because you clowns wrote your contract wrong. You put the typo in there, you screwed up, you needed to own your mistakes, own your problem, and don't punish everyone else by rewriting history. We're going to keep history even if there's a robbery, because that's the truth.
Yes.
So they broke off, and that's where you got Ethereum Classic from. So if you go on Ethereum Classic, the robbery's still there, which is technically the truth, but nobody wanted to handle the truth. Right. They wanted their money back, not the truth. You can't handle the truth, exactly. So that's why you have Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. So in the case you're talking about, even when that actually happened in real life already, there's going to be a subset of people who keep the real blockchain.
Okay.
They keep the truth, essentially.
Okay, that's great. That's fine and dandy. But I'm going to go back to the question that many people might have in their mind right now. If there is this loophole, I got $100,000 in here, and they say, "Oh, well, the computer didn't know any better."
Exactly.
And it gets away with my $100,000, and then everybody wants to rewrite history. And I'm like, hello?
I want the $100,000 back.
My $100,000.
Exactly.
You can rewrite whatever you want. Give me my $100,000 back.
That's why you have Ethereum, because on regular Ethereum, you got your $100,000 back, and you're done. You're good. You have your $100,000, and you're fine.
Okay.
And it's on Ethereum Classic that you don't have. You have the truth, but no $100,000. On Ethereum Classic, or excuse me, on regular Ethereum, you have your $100,000, but you have rewrote history to get your $100,000. So that's kind of this fun business.
So theoretically, nodes can rewrite, and miners can rewrite history the same way centralized authorities can rewrite history.
But you're not. But when this happened on Ethereum already, you did not get everyone on board with rewriting history. And that is why, in practice, so theoretically,
like a check and balance system.
It's like a check and balance, because people will break off, and they will say, "I want the real way, not your fake. I don't want to give you. I care more about the truth than you getting your $100,000 back." They are going to break off, and that's what is a built-in protection from what you're talking about. Because theoretically, yes, you could have every single node decide, "No, we're going to go with rewrote history." Every single miner say, "No, we're going to go with rewrote history. We're going to go with this way." And in theory, that's possible. But in practice, you're going to have these breakoffs. And this is a real good lead-in to Bitcoin Cash. Because Bitcoin Cash is a whole different deal. Bitcoin Cash didn't come around because there was a heist, but it's the same kind of thing.
Right.
Bitcoin Cash did not dispute the blockchain, but there was an issue. The issue was that Bitcoin was not designed to scale. At first, Bitcoin was designed to just be used by a few people. And when it started getting popular, they couldn't keep up with all the demand. It was getting clogged up, and it wouldn't go.
Right.
And so there were two camps. And everyone agreed the problem needed to be fixed, but they couldn't agree on how. Because the majority wanted to go with this thing called SegWit. And SegWit's a whole other video. It's real complicated. It was difficult to understand. It was very unproven.
Yeah.
Very, very new, very cutting edge. But they figured they were going to go with this because it would keep Bitcoin democratized. Everyone could still use it if they went with SegWit. There was a minority that said, hey, we don't like this SegWit thing. It's complicated. It's not going to work. You're going to break everything with the SegWit thing.
Yeah.
This is not the way forward. We're going to do something else.
What did they do?
They increased the block size. And this is real important. The block size is how many transactions are able to fit in each different block. If you have a small block size, these regular computers can handle it. They can handle the block size is 1 megabyte. So they can handle this in 2 seconds. If you make the block size too big, these computers can't handle it anymore. You need these big, huge servers.
Yeah.
And so they said, hey, we don't care about these little guys here. We want to keep Bitcoin how it is. We don't like this goofy SegWit. It's too confusing.
Right.
It's too unproven. You're going to break everything, guys.
Yeah.
We want to keep Bitcoin how it is. If we get rid of these guys, little guys, so be it.
Right.
And they said, we are going to make the block size 8 megabytes, which these guys can't handle anymore. And if we have a traffic jam, now on 1 megabyte, there's going to be no traffic jam with 8 megabytes. They were right, there was no traffic jam. And if we get a traffic jam at 8 megabytes, we're just going to get ourselves a bigger computer and make it 30 megabytes. And we can make it as big as we want, and we're never going to have a traffic jam. And you circus clowns with SegWit are just going to be sitting here saying, I got a traffic jam. That was the Bitcoin Cash people. So these two solutions couldn't coexist on the same blockchain. So they broke off. And Bitcoin Cash says, we are going to do it our way because you're going to break everything with your stupid SegWit.
Right.
And we are just going to increase the block size. We're going to get rid of the little guys. And we are going to just get a few big computers, just like we're going to get like Napster. We're going to put them in a building. We're going to get a few big computers, and we're going to increase the block size, and we're going to have no traffic jam in about 2 seconds. And they were right.
Wow.
On Bitcoin Cash, there has never been a traffic jam ever.
Okay.
But the problem is we got rid of this. And now Bitcoin Cash is like Napster. They have a bunch of computers in one building, and if some people doesn't like Bitcoin anymore, they can come knocking on the door of that one building and shut them off.
Oh, wow.
Whereas with this, as it turned out, SegWit did work. It wasn't. It was very unproven at the time. It was just this thing that they had made up and complicated. It still is. It's a whole different video on SegWit.
Right.
We can explain it.
No.
It's just not right now.
Right.
It's out
Because
there.
we still have.
We're only up to 2011. See,
Okay.
we're running our Wi-Fi max speed, and we're only up to 2011. All right. So there's a lot of.
Let me ask you this: if I was doing this at home, once I do the whole upload, every time let's say 2 weeks later, I come back. Does it have to go all the way back to 2000?
No. Okay. It only goes. So if you shut off your computer for 2 weeks, you're on a vacation, you just turn it off, whatever. It only has to go back to where it left off.
Okay, so 2 weeks. It only has to load 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's
just this initial thing.
It's just this initial thing. It has to catch up once,
Right.
and then it's caught up. And after that point, it only has to go back to where it left off.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
What we're
I
gonna
think we
do?
can wrap
We're gonna
up.
wrap this up,
Yeah.
and what's gonna happen is we might. Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up, but then we might add a little tag on the bottom of this so you guys can see what it looks like when it's filled up and whatnot.
Exactly.
And then there's that.
Because this is going to take overnight. I mean, it says time left 3 days. You're gonna have to. You don't have to sit and watch this every time. You can just let it sit overnight. But it's because there's just so many transactions. That's the whole point of blockchain. Every single transaction that's ever been made is on that blockchain. And every computer all around the world that has this on it has every single transaction. Yours, mine, everyone else's. Yours.
3 days.
It's going to take 3 days.
See you guys in 3 days.
We have fiber, all right? It's still going to take 3 days.
I had some fiber earlier.